Hi, okay, so in this video I'm going to show you a little bit how to use SPSS. I'm going to do these video clips, little short ones at a time so that it's not overwhelming. So some of you may be familiar with SPSS, and this may be a little bit redundant, but sometimes I think this is easier than reading through the whole of chapter 4. So when you open SPSS, it's going to actually ask you, do you want to open a data file or a new data set? So let's just go and open a new data set. And if you open a new data set, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. You actually get two screens that are open in SPSS. You get a data entry screen and you get what's called an output screen. This screen is called the data entry screen, and the output screen looks like this. And it's called the output screen because everything you generate is generated to this output. Your output goes to the output screen. So I'm going to go back here to the data view. All right, so every single column is a variable. All right, so you have to define what those variables are. So you have two views down here. You've got a data view and you've got a variable view. Your data view is where you input data, and your variable view is where you label these columns and you create your variables. So for now, I don't have any data, so I am going to create a variable. So let's just say we want a variable and we want it to be gender. Okay. Just a couple of things. If, for instance, SPSS is a little picky. If I start with a number and I say one gender and I hit enter, it's going to tell me that a variable name contains an illegal character. SPSS does not like you starting with numbers. So I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to type gender. If you put a space bar in between your words, you're going to get an error. So if I put space 1, I get an illegal character again. So one of the things you can do if you're wanting to add a number, you could say gender, and you could do underscore, and then you could do 1. Okay, I'm just going to call it gender for now though, because I don't need anything else. So I'm going to have gender, and let's put weight. Okay, I'm just going to put weight, or you could have EQ scores or whatever it is that you have. Okay, so let me move my screen down a little bit here. Okay. So you've got the type, it's numeric. If you wanted to put string characters, all right, let me just cancel this. So notice that there's a little blue box. And if you click on this little blue box, you can change it to numeric, comma, dot, scientific. Most of the time, we're going to leave it as numeric. Width, you don't have to worry about. That's how many decimal places. I mean, not how many decimal places, how many values you can put. Then you've got decimal places. You could go out more than 2 if you wanted. This label column, if, for instance, you had surveys. So some of you are talking about surveys. So instead of, you could have, I'm just going to add a variable here, and I'm going to say Q1, all right, because I want Q1 to represent question 1. And question 1 is about demographics. Okay. So what you put in your label is just more informative for you as a person. This doesn't show up anywhere unless, you might look at your data 5 years from now and, okay, what does question 1 represent? Your values, so here I have to give, SPSS cannot generate string terms. So I'm going to label my gender, and I'm going to say the value of 1 represents males, and I'm going to add it, and I'm going to say the value of 2 represents females, and I'm going to add that. I'm going to click OK. I don't have any missing columns. Don't worry about columns. You've got right alignment. Okay, here in your measure, so this is where we talked about interval, or nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. So notice if I click on this, it gives me 3 options. Scale, whoops, let me move my screen down so you can see it. Gives you scale, gives you ordinal and nominal. Scale encompasses interval and ratio data. So gender, however, is nominal, right? Because we know that there's only 2 categories. Weight, however, is scale, all right, because it's ratio data. And then your question 1 could be, if you're running your data as continuous data, then you're going to run it as scale. So I'm now going to go back to my data view. In my data view, I'm going to put in, I've got males. Oh, it's not going to take a male, right? But I said it's got ones Okay, I'm just going to put a couple of males, couple of females. Oops, I put a 22. We don't want a 22. We don't know what 22 represents. 2. One of the ways you can check is this button up here. It'll change those and remind you what your 1s and 2s represent. That's if you've coded them correctly. And then I'm going to put my weight, right? Okay, so ending this video, remember you got 2 views. You've got a data view where you input your data and your variable view, which labels your columns. If you don't have anything and I just start typing data, notice that it changes this to VARR1. I can go in here in variable view and I can then change that name. So that is the basic of data entry in variable view and how to input data.